Hey everyone, we're going to get started in just a moment. Welcome to Zoom into Wine. Every Wednesday night we get together and with some great people and talk about a different grape variety, a different place, taste some amazing wines with some wonderful people from all over the good country here. So thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you guys enjoy the presentation tonight. Tonight it's about the wines of Armenia. And this is the first time that we have attempted to discuss Armenian wines. I'm gaining interest. I really enjoy the wines that we're tasting tonight. And but I'm going to need some help. So I brought an expert along. My friend Stefan is in charge of winesofarmenia.com, and he is on the Zoom with us. Hi, Stefan.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
How are you, buddy?
Wonderful. How are you, Ian? Good to see you
You,
again.
you too. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to spotlight you and I'll spotlight myself so you're not all alone out there. But we've got a lot to cover. When I first tasted some Armenian wines at different times throughout my career, but you really came to the business with an idea to be the importer of a lot of Armenian wines. How did that come? How did that happen?
Well, I've been in the online wine business since 2005, both importer, distributor, online retailer. First, we started My Wine Plus back in '05, and part of me being Armenian, I was very much interested in Armenian wines. And one of the premier Armenian wine that came to the world scene was Zora Karasi. The Zori Caribbean is a pioneer when it comes to premium Armenian wines. And he's the one who brought in the Italian wine consultant, hired the best consultants to select the best vineyards, the best locations to grow the best Areni grapes to make some of the best wines coming out of Armenia. So far, Zora Karasi is the prominent, was the first premium Armenian wine that came to the world scene. And we were responsible in bringing that to our wine consumers, our customers, and we made a brand for that wine. I'm happy to do it. Eventually, as Armenia was going and still going through a wine renaissance. More and more quality wines started coming out available for us to import. And then we established winesofarmenia.com platform, which eventually became its own entity right now, where we have become the largest retailer of Armenian wines in the US. We carry something like 170, 180 different Armenian wines, and we're happy to do it. You can find wines from all different parts of the world, parts of Armenia rather. There are five main regions of wine growing regions in Armenia. They don't call them appellation there; they just call them wine growing regions at the moment. And the granddaddy, biggest, the most famous is Vayotsor. Vayotsor is in the southern part of the country at a high elevation, about anywhere between 4 to 4,800 feet in elevation, where they grow some of the best grapes and some of the best wines out of Armenia come from that region. Although the Arad Valley is another prominent region, although the weather tends to be a little bit warmer there because it's a valley, so it's a different characteristics develops with the wines. But there, as I said, there are 4 or 5 different regions, and they're all coming of age. They're coming, doing very well, and more premium wines are becoming available throughout the world.
You're
We can't
muted,
hear you,
Ian.
Ian.
Yeah, I'm having some technical issues with a client. Let me get them on the Zoom. If I could ask one more question for you, Stefan,
Sure.
can you share with people a little bit about the background of Armenia as far as the history and stuff? And I'll be able to get my other client here on the Zoom with us.
Sounds good. Armenian winemaking history goes back at a minimum 6,200 years. In this southern region, Vojvodstvo region, archaeologists have discovered this cave called RNE1, where the grapes the current RNA grapes that are growing in Armenia right now, they've found traces of that wine, of that grape in the caves going back 6,200 years. And they are exactly the same grape, same DNA. So Armenia has a very rich history of winemaking. Of course, over time, wars, tragedies, a lot of things have happened where we might have lost some of that zeal. And then I'm jumping a lot ahead to beginning of the last century, where after 1920, this Armenia became part of the Soviet Union. And part of the Soviet Union's grand plan, they wanted to have different countries within the Soviet Union to be specializing in different products. So the Soviets, in their infinite wisdom, decided to assign brandy making to Armenians, and they assigned winemaking to Georgia, our next door neighbors. So Georgia, again, it's the same region. Georgia equally claims to be making wine for, they claim to be making wine for 7,000 years. So it's a matter of, after a while, it becomes anecdotal, so to speak. But nevertheless, but given our history, given our tradition of winemaking, since Armenia's independence in 1989, Armenia started making wine again. This happened, the good premium quality wine started being made in Armenia after diasporan Armenians went to Armenia, took with them financing, took with them technology, brought in the Italian, French, German wine consultants who make some of the best wines that are coming out of Armenia right now. And these wines are competing on an international level, whether it's in Europe or it's in the United States. One of the wines you're going to be tasting later on got 92 or 94 points by James Suckling. And if you happen to be going to New York next month for a New York tasting of James Suckling, you will be able to meet the winemakers or Zara and taste the wines there as well.
Well, far out. Well, we started talking because I take people on trips, and I thought, what a great destination that would be to take a group to. So we're still talking about that out loud, and hopefully by
Absolutely.
like 20, late 26 or early 27, we can announce our trip or announce it well in advance, but get it up for people to see it and plan it into like 2027. So let me get us into the slideshow and welcome everybody aboard. Armenia is obviously an ancient wine region. There was a start and a stop and a large break in time, but with that, there's an appreciation of the history, and a lot has happened since we started making wine. And so now we've got wine pioneers and wine experts coming together to solve some of the challenges of making wine at high altitude. We've got the technology, we've got the wisdom, the knowledge, and we're employing lots of different things to make wine in various parts of the world. We've got wine vineyards planted in Tibet at 7,000 feet in
Wow.
elevation. We've got wines in Armenia and at high elevation. We've got, I took a group to Argentina, several thousand, 4 or 5,000 feet into Salta. Actually, the vineyards were as high as 9, 10, 11,000 feet in elevation up there. So lots of interesting things are happening in with wine technology and wine wisdom, wine knowledge. And so our expert, Stephen, today is starting us off here. And Stephen started these wonderful websites and has been a wine expert for a long time. Stephen and I cross paths throughout the city doing our activities. And I started to talk about Armenia with him, and it became this Zoom became a thing. Let's get some wine in the glass, Stephen, so that we can start to show people why this was so exciting and tell us about our first wine. And I'm going to let you pronounce the wine, Stephen.
Very well, Ian. The first one is called Savar. Um, By the way, a lot of these Armenian wines have Armenian names, and this may be, but I keep telling them they shouldn't keep the Armenian names short and easily pronounceable. So I'm happy these people listen to me. Uh,
That is a key, man, because I look at some of the labels and you get lost in a hurry. I mean,
correct.
Savar is an easy one that looks compelling, but tell us how do you pronounce the rest of that?
Okay, huh. All right. Hatun Harji. Okay. A little bit of background. The two main grape varietals that we're getting wines from Armenia at the moment. For the red, it's Areni, and for the white is Voskehat. Voskehat literally means golden drop or
Hmm.
golden nugget. However, this particular grape is called Hatun Kharji. Hatun, again, these are all indigenous Armenian grape varietals. In Armenia, you're going to find over 300 varietals of Armenian of grape varietals. So we are very rich in grape varietals, in history, in agriculture, and culture. Uh, as I said, for the most of the white wines we've been getting so far were Voskehat. The reason we decided to bring this wine because not only it's a great, very well made wine, but at the same time it's from it with made with a different white grape varietal. This grape varietals tends to be a little bit more higher acid. Some it's got a lot of different nuances in there, which are different than what we're getting from Voskehat, which tends to be more uh, tropical and a little bit on the sweeter side. It's not sweet, it's just it's on the
Piper.
sweeter side, whereby this is extremely dry, where it's made, again, it's got higher acid, goes very well with food.
So here's and how do I pronounce the place? Voyat
Vayots,
Vayots. Okay.
Vayot, Zor means valley in Armenian.
Okay.
Vayots Valley, Vayot Zor.
Okay.
And
And
as
so
I said, this is one of the best, most famous areas for wine growing, for grape growing in Armenia. And it's higher altitude. You're coming from Yerevan, it's about an hour and a half drive. And you're going to immediately, as soon as you leave the city, Arad Valley, you start ascending higher and higher and higher and higher. It's a beautiful drive, beautiful mountains. Some of them during the top of the season, you're there, a lot of snow, obviously, but it's a great, beautiful place.
so we're at 1,350 meters. So what's that, about almost 4,000 feet?
Correct.
And this is Varden Shakane?
Sahakyan.
Shahakian. I need you to do the hard parts. That's heavy
That's
lifting.
easy for me.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful place. Look at that. It doesn't look like it's
That's
from,
4,600 feet elevation.
yeah. What is what is like what do you think the population is in Armenia today?
About, depending on time of year, it is between 3 to 3.5 million.
Okay. And so do you think they're making enough wine for the local population or more than more than enough for the
They're
local?
making more than enough right now because just like in the US, where people, for the sake of legacy or for bragging rights, after they make the money somewhere else, go to Napa Valley, buy a winery,
Yeah,
and start making wine for themselves with their name on it. Same things happen in Armenia, where people have made the money in some other businesses,
yeah,
and they start a winery.
got it. So here's
These
the
are
name
some
of
of the I'm
that.
going to read off to you the six characteristics
Okay,
of
good.
what makes Armenia unique.
Okay, go for it.
High altitude vineyards, up
Okay,
to 5,800 feet in elevation.
yeah.
Indigenous grape varietals,
Right.
volcanic soil,
Hmm.
free from phylloxera. Though then phylloxera never went to Armenia.
And that's pretty common with high altitude. So maybe
Correct.
there might be something there.
Winemaking tradition going back to 6,200 years, as we discussed earlier, and continuous cultivation of the same varietals for over 6 millennia.
That's strong.
Yeah.
So the wine that we're trying right now, Khatun Hari,
Harji.
Harji,
Harji.
Harji.
So,
Got it.
so, so sound. Harji,
Maybe we just call this KK.
as you wish.
No, I don't mean to be that simplistic about it. I'll learn the hard way. But this is I think the first wine we tasted together, Stefan. This is what you gave me to share with my family.
I
And
believe so, yeah. Because
yeah,
I really like this wine. It's a very versatile wine. As I said, it goes great with a lot of different food, and it's got nice acid to it, so it does very well. We're happy with this wine.
I'm gonna challenge the group. We have this fantastic meeting chat tool. Throw down some things that you're tasting, smelling, experiencing. You can use some of the notes that you read. I think that almond note is it to me. It smells like I don't know marzipan. Is it more of a cooking term or um, and that beeswax thing is definitely there too. If you focus in on that, just smell that for those characteristics. But what else? What kind of fruit do you smell? Somewhere maybe between like white peach, apricot.
Stone fruit, absolutely.
These plumats are really blowing minds too. Uh, because there's nobody knows what they're called, but they kind of cross over a lot and kind of blur the lines, but it really make that happen. I totally agree with you. Tropical pineapple, even like kind of like a green pineapple, or I'm not sure if you've ever even like grilled pineapple before, but you can smell some of that almost like that warm pineapple, or maybe even like where was I? There was a, a dessert at one of the restaurants I worked at in my life. I believe it was a Russian restaurant, and they served this tarte tatin, and it had like a pineapple and apple tarte tatin, and so it was like almost like brown sugar and pineapple. Brian, I agree. Mistake it for a Rhone White or Chenin. That's really good too. Astute. Okay, help me with this one. What does it say here? Typically found where?
Bayotzur, that's
I
the region. That
that's
word is misspelled, but that's the Bayot Valley we were discussing earlier.
I wish I could blame it on the misspelling, but this is it right here, right? This is what we're talking
Yes,
about.
absolutely. But it's also grown in other regions as well.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll get better at this. By this time we zoom again on Armenian wines, we're going to be experts. I'm going to be rolling all those hard consonants.
The sound.
Yeah, I'll get that going, man.
Quick comment. High altitude, cool climate stuff is sometimes pretty low in alcohol. If either of you have the bottle there, happen to know that the ABV on any of these, we'd appreciate
This is
hearing that.
13%.
How much?
13.
Okay, that's pretty good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Outstanding. And there you can demonstrate aromas of floral, citrus, and pineapple. Look at that, pineapple person. All right. I brought an expert in to back you up, Stefan. Alvina is joining us tonight. She just graduated from Lewis and Clark University up in Oregon. Hi, Alvina.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, so nice to meet you. It's so amazing to learn about all these Armenian wines. I'm from Yerevan myself, so it's very cool to learn about all the varietals and all the wines you're exporting. I mean,
Well, happy to
importing to
do
the
it.
US.
I think these are fantastic wines, very well made by great people, and we're happy to offer them to our customers here in the US.
You need someone
Hmm.
smart, Stefan. She needs a job. She just graduated. She's got
That
a
is very true.
she
We should
needs a
talk then.
visa too. She needs a visa quickly.
Oh, thank you, Ian.
So here's our first wine, and uh, I'm noticing the vintage. What's our drinking window on this wine, Stefan?
Uh, 2 to 6 years.
Okay. So as you can tell now, it's in great shape. I'd say at least 2, 3 more years
Right.
of very
But
healthy.
I mean, wine is not made necessarily for aging purposes.
Right.
This is made to be drank fresh whenever it's available, slightly chilled,
Mhm.
and it makes, as I said, makes a great accompaniment for a lot of different dishes. And pineapple.
Yeah. And I think some wine regions of the world kind of come in to America with like trying to be the world's greatest $7 wine. And I think a lot of regions make mistakes doing that. And it's usually the importers that are taking that route. And what I really respect about what you're doing is you're bringing in some really damn good stuff. And some of it might be a little more pricey, but the cost of doing stuff in faraway places and the mountains where it's not a lot of there's not 20 stores sitting on every corner of the valleys
Right.
providing supplies and expertise. I talked to Paul Hobbs, who makes wine in Armenia, and he was super excited to get involved in Armenia. He said, but one thing I forgot is it takes like 2 days to get there. It takes him
Yes.
2 days to get there, 2 days to get back. And that makes it expensive.
And another thing on that point, Ian, if you don't mind, these wines that you're going to be tasting and drinking today are coming from small boutique wineries. These are not industrial wineries that are making 500,000 cases a year. These guys make at most maybe 10,000 cases, one of them, in the case of one of them only.
Mm.
The others are anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 cases. These are small wineries, small operations. These are craftspeople who are making the best wine they can make. And that's why they're a little bit on the higher end pricey.
I just want to make sure everybody knew the first glass that I tilted back really hard was water. I was just making sure. 'Cause I think I saw people go, "Oh my God, did you see?" and just slam that glass.
Oh, you're
Uh,
a professional.
yes, I am a professional and I try to drink as much water as I do wine. It doesn't always work out, but let's move on to wine number two. Beautiful first, very different. I mean, I think what I love about that first wine is that we're not sitting here talking about how it tastes like a Chardonnay. We might compare it to Rhones, which are a little different, or some other things, but there was a really distinctive difference there. And that's what I
Hmm.
loved about it. I mean, to me, wine is cool and exciting because they all taste a little bit different. If they all tasted a lot alike, it can get pretty boring in a hurry. And
Correct.
uh, with that, we just started off in a really good step. And now we're moving into wine number two. And I'll tell you, this is one of my favorites. But pronouncing this I can get the name of the winery, but you got to help me with the rest of it.
Happy to do it. Here's the situation with this wine. Alexandria, Adam Kablanian is the owner of this winery. He is originally from Silicon Valley. He is a former Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur who took a company public. Then he sold it to an even bigger company. And as I said, goes back to what I was saying before. When you have a lot of wine, you have a lot of money. for you, what do? You start a winery. So
Mhm.
he wanted to start this winery. Alexandria is a made up word. It's named after his two kids, Alex and Andrea,
Ah, well,
and
he's
hence the word
doing the right thing.
Alexandria. Adam is a big wine person. Apparently he had some winemaking or wine. He also had some wines made in Napa Valley when he was in Silicon Valley. So his idea is that he wants to grow European varietals in Armenia. And just like Italians grow Merlot in Italy, he wants to grow Chardonnay, he wants to grow Merlot, he wants to grow Pinot Noir in Armenia. And that's this particular blend is 60% Bosquehat, which is the other grape, famous white grape variety that I mentioned earlier, mixed with Chardonnay. And this happens to be coming from Aragazzon region, which is on the northern part, and it's a more of a flat area, not a mountainous region per se. Nevertheless, yet more warmer temperature. But nevertheless, it's a big wine growing region there. And there are many, we have a number of different wineries that are there, including Armas Winery, including Vanardi, including Voskevas wineries.
Well, look at that soil. You can see limestone, and that's usually
Correct.
what you find on the valley floor or the lower levels. All
Mhm.
that water settled somewhere, then it, continued to evaporate, and then it petrified, turned into stone, whatever. And that's what limestone is. And so you've got these really cool, like bottom of the river type of soils here.
Yeah.
And looks like sustainable practices.
Mhm.
Uh, I would imagine, as I'm looking in this picture, you can see the irrigation, so they do need to irrigate. But is there much rainfall up here?
Quite a bit, actually. A lot of snow, actually, also.
Okay. And wind, probably.
Yes,
That's why you don't see many trees, right?
correct.
All right. So this one does have a little bit of a crossover between Old World or Armenia and then New World varietals, Chardonnay being a pretty good ambassador.
Mhm.
Uh, fresh bouquet with hints of yellow fruits, delicate florals. I didn't realize there was any Chardonnay in this when I tasted this the first time. I thought that it was just like a really nuanced, and that the restraint here is to me part of what I love. I'm not sure everybody appreciates restraint the way I do, but when a wine punches me in the face, it can get to me. But this one really kind of invites me deep into the glass. What is the alcohol here though, Stefan?
Alcohol on this 12.5%.
That's because I get so close to the glass before I just pick up that beautiful, gentle, I don't know, it's like a white peach. And I don't know what floral character to go with it. It's not sweet like a honeysuckle or anything like that, but maybe something more like a white rose. I mean, it's really pretty.
If
And
you drink the Toronto, the Voskehat by itself, on the when you on the nose, it will remind you of Torontes.
mm,
Well, yeah, it's got a more tropical nose to it. But given the blend with, by the way, this percentages change every year between the Chardonnay and the Voskehat.
okay.
And given the what Chardonnay is bringing to it, as you said, more restraint, it grasps this a little bit and adds a nice another dimension to it, which you don't get from the Voskehat alone.
One of the viewers, Janice, hi Janice, is asking if the ones or any of these are reach towards like a natural or biodynamic level.
Uh, most of the wineries in Armenia they practice sustainability. They practice some of them organic practices, but at the moment there is not a body that would certify them as organic or sustainable or biodynamic.
Totally makes sense. That's again, that's you with efficiencies, you might start to see organizations reach out that far and be able to
Right.
sustain someone doing that. But can you imagine paying Demeter to fly to Armenia every time to check? They check
Right.
everything, so it's be quite expensive. But yeah, I think, uh, and so what you could say though, with those things is that we're seeing wineries that are striving to be as neutral or natural as possible. And there is no real definition for natural wine, but certainly, some of those other categories, biodynamic, eco, there's European Union labels, etc. These are all things that wineries do sometimes aspire to achieve, especially if they're making some volume. It's a great
Right.
communication tool. These first two wines, this one's also very small, right? I'm going to go back to that slide
Well,
and
at the moment it is, yes.
yeah.
By the way, we are getting a rosé made from Pinot Noir grapes from this winery soon.
All right.
And we are also getting 100% Chardonnay soon.
So you said Vosgiat is probably the most significant of the grape varieties.
White grape varietals that we are being exported to the US at the moment.
Cool. And Vosgiat you said could be similar to Torrontés.
On the nose, it's got a tropical nose.
Very good. Okay. Picture. We're at $30 for Alexandria. Stylish little wine, man. I really appreciate the balance of it. I appreciate that restraint. I love the way that it presents itself. Wonderful freshness. The acidity is assertive, but not so drying that it's tart or bitter. I think it's just a well proportioned wine. And the packaging, actually, I think it even looks better in person. It's quite upscale
Very
and
elegant.
very elegant. Yeah. And well, you might see me carry only a few bottles of each of these wines on the website. Um, Stefan has a strong inventory for us. So if you want to indulge in any of these in quantities, let me know. I think I have everything checked off so that it will sell as much as you would like tonight. But Stefan, let me know if any of these are running out of stock or maybe they're going to
We're
change.
low on this particular, on the Zara Muradian. We're running low on that one.
All right. So this is the Reserve Vasquiat, and it's a single barrel.
Right.
Wow.
And let me tell you, this is a funny story. I've known Zara Muradian for a while. He's the head of the Vine and Wine Foundation, which is an NGO that's helps wineries market their wines, whether it's in Europe or United States. She's in her own right is a fantastic winemaker herself.
Hmm.
Every year I go to Dusseldorf for a international wine show called Pro Wine, and Armenia has a presence there every year. Last year, the 2024, when I went there, they were not even tasting this particular wine. Apparently they were experimenting with this single barrel aging in French oak
Hmm.
and a used French oak barrel. And they had one bottle with them. When I taste, I said, blew me away. I said, what is this? Well, they said we're experimenting with this wine. We don't know if there's a market for this. I said, are you kidding me? I'm buying it all.
Ah, there
So
you go.
so that's why it's a single barrel. We got 25 cases out of this barrel.
Aha.
and we brought everything here. And it's a delicious wine. It's got a lot of character. Um, for those of me and you who enjoy white wines aged in French oak, whether it's California or from Burgundy, this has similar nuances that the wine has gotten from the oak. That it's done, they've done a beautiful job with it. Again, great balance. There's some creme brulee there, and there's some Meyer lemon there. It's a delicious wine, and it has become my white wine to go white wine, so to speak.
And this is the wine that James Suckling gave 92 on, yeah?
Correct. Then and they're gonna be pouring the 2020 because I agreed to buy this. Now they're making this every year.
All right.
So we're going to be getting the 23 soon, and the 2023 is the one's going to be poured at the Suckling event in New York, June 7th or 8th, I think.
Well, let's cruise through a couple of slides. We're back down in the Vayats d'Azur.
Viotzor again, yes.
Yeah.
Again, the alcohol here is 13%.
Uh-huh. 13.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. And here's Zara's name again.
Mm-hmm.
2013.
Right.
That Vine and Wine Foundation sounds interesting. We'll have to talk.
It's an NGO that helps wineries market their wines in Europe and in the United States.
Cool. I have
And
a
she's
friend
ahead
that
of it.
does. I have a friend that does that for Italy, and we'll have to connect them.
Okay. That'll be fantastic. Thank you.
Look at this picture. This I think tells you a lot. How, I mean, that's such a perfect. That's like a little biosphere right there too. That's what you would want to be biodynamic, because
Mhm.
you could really, create your own ecosystem. Um, and that is magnificent, beautiful. 100% Basquiat, aromas of
Voskehat. Correct.
Basquiat.
Voskehat.
Basquiat. I'm a little stubborn. Julie, what are you smelling in this one? Let me unmute you.
I just started, but definitely just right in the nose, jasmine.
Ooh, I
Okay.
love that.
Yeah.
It's definitely more assertive. That wood really
Yeah.
makes you pay attention. It kind of wakes you up a little bit. Um, you said the alcohol was still 13 and a half, but that wood is I mean, it's a single barrel, so you don't get to blend.
It's like walking outside. No?
Not in my neighborhood, Julie. It's like walking outside in my neighborhood is
Oh.
like in LA.
Sorry, we have a beautiful jasmine blooming right outside of our
Yeah,
kitchen. Every time I open the door,
and there's one, actually I said that in joke as a joke, but there's literally a wall of jasmine outside the building we're in, and it is the most honeyed fragrance right now. It is just booming. It's going to be gone soon, I'm sure, but it's like at its peak. You can smell it a block away. It's
yeah,
gorgeous.
it is.
That is what you smell here. 100% beautiful.
It's cool, very cool.
Put you back on mute, Julie, so you can be unconcerned. She cusses like a sailor too. I know. uh, well, I thought this was a beautiful wine as well. And certainly, if maybe you didn't enjoy either the first two as much. Maybe this one is your preference. I think there's just a wine for every different moment, different cuisine, different things that you can do. Certainly when you get to this level of flavor and intensity, you could start to pair it with some different things. With those first two, you might need to keep the flavor profiles of the food a little more subtle, natural, nuanced. Here you could really go for it, goat cheese, cream sauces. And these are the type of things that you can build off of. Um, in the description here, lemon verbena. See if you can smell something with that type of an accent. Citrus blossom, white flowers, all those things. Again,
White flour is common among many bosque huts.
there's your tropical fruits as well. Really a pretty wine. And here is the owner. And
Dara.
uh, and you said she'll be pouring in New York in June at the
At the James Suckling New York event,
awesome.
11th and 12th of June.
Cool. I think she'll get a lot of attention. I bet she's the only Armenian wine at that tasting, and
You're
that's
absolutely right.
super fun. So you tasted it here first, folks. This is pretty cool. Single barrel Basquiat. Am I getting closer?
Yes, you are. A little bit more practice, both drinking and saying.
Yeah, it will take a while. Maybe a couple more glasses of wine.
That's the spirit.
All right. Gorgeous, gorgeous place.
By the way, that's Aran River.
Where the name Arani comes from?
Correct.
Okay.
And there's an RNE village also.
Well, here you go. We're up to 46.95 for this rendition. Let's see. Before we move into the reds, I've been doing these really radical dinners tomorrow night. I've got one more. It's called the 100-point dinner. All the wines are served blind. We taste them, we evaluate them, we guess what they are, we pick our favorites, we reveal, we talk about them, tell the story of each wine. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to do it. And tasting, proven champions next to each other really gives you a great perspective. And we're doing it at one of the LA's best restaurants. It's called 71 Above.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I always call it the First Interstate Building, but I think that's what it was called back back in a different era. It's called something else now, but it's way up there on the 71st floor. You're looking down on Dodger Stadium. It's got one of the most incredible 360-degree views. And I will tell you, the food doesn't need to be as good as it is at 71 Above. The view, the atmosphere is wonderful, but the food is on point. And he's getting some praise finally. Different organizations starting to list him and at the top, James Beard, etc., are getting involved and really noticing the efforts here. And this is a Armenian family too, right, Stefan?
The chef is, yes.
There we go. I'll have to ask him some questions about the wines that we're tasting tonight. That would be a fun place to maybe do an Armenian dinner. A lot of Armenians in that house.
There was a recently an Armenian wine dinner was made done at a place called Nomad in at Water Village.
Oh, very cool. All right, we're moving into the reds.
This is a very interesting story, this wine. Voskeni, uh, you know, Voskeni wines and the one we're going to taste a little bit later on, Old Bridge wines, were the first two wines we start importing from the US. And I guess I've developed this affinity towards these wines, and not only because the wines are great, but the families who make these wines are great, great people. Now we're in the valley, Ararat Valley. These Voskeni wine vineyards are literally 2,000 meters from the Turkish border.
Okay.
At this winery here that you're looking at is literally 2,000 meters from the Turkish border, and on the other side we have Mount Ararat. So it's a beautiful place, very touching place, very emotional place. Every time I've been there, I don't want to leave. It's so close yet so far, and the family who makes these wines are phenomenal. They're great, great people. Interesting. If you can go back to the other picture, please.
Sure. What back
The
picture?
bottle shot, the bottle shot.
Oh, sure.
Okay, the picture on this guy here, his name is Simpat. Simpat comes to United States, more specifically to Boston, in 1880s. And just like any other immigrant, he works very hard, makes a lot of money in Boston, and decides to go back to Armenia at the turn of the century to buy vineyards and to make wine. So he goes back in 1905, 1910. He goes back to Armenia, buys a bunch of land in the area that they're in right now. And before he even has a chance to start making wine, the Bolshevik Revolution takes place. And they confiscate all his land.
Yeah.
And the guy dies penniless.
Wow.
This is their great grandfather. 20 years ago, this family buys all the vineyards back from the government that their great grandfather bought 100 years ago.
Oh, what
And
a
the
cool story.
grapes there you find in the Voskeni wines come from the land which is by the Turkish border at the house you were showing earlier, the winery you were showing earlier. It's a very fascinating story.
Wow. Now, this is an Arani, right? Is that?
Areni, correct.
And I've had some experience with this grape variety. This is the most famous of the Armenian grape varieties.
Red wine, red varietals, yes.
Yeah, and it's gentle, like maybe like a Beaujolais, or gentle like a
That's a
Burgundy,
very good point, yes.
um, but has some real interesting nuances that I think keep it very unique, very rustic, if you will. I think it's really a beautiful rendition. I think it's very authentic, very. I think the label's really a cool story too.
And with most all RNEs, you're going to have a lot of sour cherry as a big part of that.
Uh,
And this wine is 100% stainless steel, so you're tasting the actual fruit from the valley, Arad Valley, and it's a beautiful place. It's a very heartwarming, very touching place. And if you have good fruit, you don't want to screw it. You want to keep it as its best. Let the fruit speak for itself. It doesn't need manipulation. It doesn't need anything. Just a beautiful straight wine to be enjoyed.
Lots of spice nuances here, brown spices galore. Like clove and cinnamon. What's our alcohol here?
This is 13 and a half.
It's got a wonderful nuance. And let's talk about food for just a second, Stefan, not to go too deep into it, but what's like a typical Armenian dish?
Um, of course, we Armenians like our kebabs, we call them horovats, and just grilled meats, whether it's beef, chicken, pork, um, any dense protein. This wine does very well with kebabs, with grilled meats. Well, it does, given the spice notes that you mentioned earlier, and given the fact that Armenian food tends to be spicy with different herbs and spices, they do a very good match together. They pair well together. So this is a great wine to be enjoyed with grilled meats. Uh, some marinara sauce will do well. Pasta with marinara sauce, some spice there as well will do well. Just a great wine to be. It's an everyday drinking wine.
And I like the authenticity about it when I don't sometimes I say that and it doesn't necessarily have much weight, but I want to give it a little bit of weight because I think that spice and that minerality come together here to kind of provoke something that's really tender and optimal with Armenian food. But you know, what is Armenian food? And in Los Angeles, I think I eat a kebab every week, so from somewhere, and I bet you I'm eating more pita and hummus than many, probably most states in America don't eat as much as I do of that stuff. So I love wines that go with these types of foods, and I think there's a lot of application here, and I think it's a really a beautiful wine. Um, I saw something here say tea. Did I see tea or just wanted to see tea? I think there's also a lot of like tea character, maybe even a little tinge of tea tannin on the finish, little tea bitterness, like a black tea. Yeah, there it is. The final thing. It says typical aromas include cherry, black pepper, and black tea. I didn't see any mention of cinnamon, but I picked that up myself today. I don't know if I noticed that before.
Well, you got the black pepper there and some other spice notes, as you mentioned.
Really cool. This reminds me of a winery we visited when we went to Portugal, and the winery was started in like the 1500s, and they had their winery taken from them when communism came into Portugal.
Mm.
When communism fell, they were able to reclaim their property. I'm not sure if that required purchase or just were able to take it back, but they maintain this authenticity, this slow wine movement, making it the same way they were making it hundreds of years ago. And I bet that's something that they're doing here too, because this definitely shows like less of that modernity to the wine. It's got that kind of rustic element that I think really pulls it off. 25 bucks. Great deal. And now we go to something with some modernity on the appearance, and it is
Right.
beautiful. Um, Maran Winery.
Malahi. Mara, correct. Maran Winery. Maran, which means cellar, by the way, in Armenian.
Okay.
Maran Winery. This is a very old winery in a sense that this winery has been around for over about 120 years.
Hmm.
Um, the current owner, whose great grandfather started this winery in the Vyotzor region, um, is a preeminent wine expert and wine consultant in Armenia, Ava Karutyunian. Over the last 25 years, whoever has established a winery in Armenia has consulted with AVAC to select the right parcels, for planting purposes, for varietal selections. He's a preeminent expert in Armenia. He's written multiple books on wine culture, history of wine. I've loved talking with him, and just going to Armenia and talking with this guy is worth going, spending those 2 days traveling to Armenia. He knows so much. He's a wonderful person. They make Maran wines, which are fairly popular in Armenia. We were drawn to the Malahi line. This is a new line for them, which are meant to be blends. And in the case of the red variety, red Malahi, it's a blend of Areni Noir we've been talking about earlier, Kındogni, which is another Armenian varietal, and Malbec.
Oh, wow.
Yes, all grown in Viotzor in their own vineyards. And I think it comes together very nicely. By the way, the design, uh, they call this crossing parallels. That's the whole idea of this harmony. All these three varietals coming together, it's a harmony. That's the whole idea behind it. I think they do a great job. Here's something interesting. They also make a white Malahi, and in that instance, the varietals are Boskehat, white RNE, which is different than red RNE, and Aligote. So it's blending the old and the new together.
And the note here talks about a little truffle, black fruits, black licorice, dark plums. There's always some dried plum candy in my house. My wife is Chinese, and I always pick up on that plum skin. It's got kind of like a fruit leather character, and that I almost really feel that in the mouth, like the pressed fruit skins and stuff like that. It's really fun. RNE 60%, Malbec 20. How do I pronounce that last one again?
Kındogni.
Gesundheit. I'll pass on that one. I'll miss on that one. That's a tough one. Beautiful, beautiful scenery, great shots. Is it always this photogenic, or did they have to take a lot of shots?
Absolutely, yeah. Last time I was there was last September. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
25 bucks? Do I have that price right?
Yes, you do. I can charge you more if you like.
Oh, that's super. That's super. Just the packaging and the richness of this wine tastes a little bit more expensive, and I think is really fun. I think people would maybe guess some different places with this wine. It's not like anything else I've ever had, though. Any questions from you folks? We've got one more wine to go, but I'd love to give it to you to ask Stephen some questions and maybe make any comments that you had.
Some of the whites reminded me of the Native American type grapes, the non-vinifera ones. Are these like your European vinifera? Or are they their own subgenus or whatever?
That's a good question, Brian. Stephen, do you know?
These are vinifera.
They are, okay, cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, I have a quick question. I live in New York. Are these wines available in New York?
Some of these wines are available in New York. Others we just we ship to 43 states. But otherwise, some of these are available in some wine stores in New York and New Jersey.
How would I find out where I could find these in New York?
You have to look up on Google them.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Wine Searcher.
Thank you.
Wine Searcher.
Yeah, Wine
Yes.
Searcher.
I'm sure they're probably at Astor Wines.
I think
I'll
some
look.
of them are actually, yes.
Yeah, that's right by my house.
Okay.
Great
Yeah,
shop. Okay, I'll look for them. These are fantastic.
Yeah, cool. All right. Let's see. Seems mostly valley, not hillside. Well, I agree with you, Julie. Lots of plateaus in those photos, but those were some pretty steep hillsides. And these are definitely at elevation.
Even that plateau is over 4,000 feet high.
Yeah. One person's valley is another person's hillside. That's what we're saying.
Everything is relative.
All right. We'll move into wine number 6. This is the classic wine right there. Stephen, this is
Oh, again, this is the first one of the two Armenian wine we start importing over 10 years ago. And if I say that I love this wine, I'm understating it. I love this wine. This is the wine that tells you what good winemaking can be from an area where you don't know much about, but yet nevertheless you can, once you drink the wine, you know this is craftsmanship. You know that these people put their heart and soul into this. This is a father and son that make this wine, and they're primarily known for this red wine. And this is one of the few wines, not a few wines, but one of the first wine that they said we start importing. And they hold back at least 4 to 6 years before they release them. These wines are aged 2 years in a tank, 2 years in the bottle. I'm sorry, 2 years in Artsakh Armenian oak barrels, 2 years in the bottle before they release, although they keep holding them back more and more and more. Um, this
Stefan,
wine,
before we move past this slide here, almost everything we tasted was from like this spot here, I think.
so is
Today.
this.
Yeah. Is there also wine growing throughout the rest of this area?
Yes, this is Alavnadzor
Okay.
or Yereknadzor, which is a sub appellation of Bayotzor.
Right. Got it.
Uh, this is a hardy RNE wine that's coming from Bayotzor. This is the wine you open when you're having a medium rare ribeye steak. Uh, I tell people if you like Cabernet Sauvignon, although this is not Cabernet Sauvignon, I get that. If you like big, hardy Cabernet Sauvignon, this is your wine. It's got beautiful tannins, beautiful fruit, nice spice, beautiful acidity. This is 2020. When I was in Armenia in last September, I tried the 2009 and it was still young. So we're bringing some of the 2009, 2010, and 2011 with this next shipment, along with the 20 and 21 again.
Cool.
It's a beautiful wine. Armen and his son. By the way, this is Old Bridge. This wine is named after Old Bridge. This Old Bridge on the Arpa River is literally across the highway from them. This is part of the old Silk Road that connected east to the west. I wish I had known. I would have sent you a picture of me standing at the top of that bridge. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful setting. They do a great job. It's a small winery. They make about, I think, 4,000 cases total, and they have a beautiful hospitality area there. They also have a bed and breakfast, and I love this wine.
Well, it definitely has a lot more guts and gusto and
Mhm.
richness, and I can totally see everything you just said about the food going wonderfully with a steak.
What's the alcohol on this one?
14 and a half.
Stefan, somebody gave me a bottle of this wine, and I honestly, it might have been you years ago. Uh, but I had a 9 or a 10 vintage of this, and I used it at a cheese and chocolate program at the
Okay.
Bennigan's cheese store just recently. And it was really fun to explore. And I actually opened it to kind of help promote this program. So, and we picked the wines weeks later, but I knew that we were going to be doing this Armenian Zoom a while back, and so we planned into this and made it happen. And I'm hopeful that you guys enjoyed the wines as much as I did. Arani is the if you walked away from this Zoom knowing one red grape variety that you learned about tonight, this would be the one.
Mhm.
And I gleaned tonight that it's named after that river that we've seen a couple of times now. And
And the more specifically, more of the village, that RNE village also.
okay, cool. I'll open it up to everybody and
And
just
that's Armen.
oh, there he is. That's cool.
This is part of the hospitality area there with the winery, where you can go taste wine, have a meal.
For $39. And would you say this is one of the preeminent wines of Armenia?
Absolutely.
So for 40 bucks, that's a great value proposition, something you can, share over a great meal and know that you're drinking one of the best of the place. So that's pretty cool. Before I end the slideshow here, I just want to plug that we only have a couple more spots for Zinfandel for next week. If it sells out, we might consider growing it a little bit more because we're a week out, but we'll need to see where we go. But next week is our Zinfandel. It's kind of a discussion of old vines versus new vines as we unveil the brand new Turley Juvenile, and we'll be tasting an 80-year-old vineyard as well in that discussion. So really nice flight. And here's the next couple of weeks. The Santa Barbara gathering will really be a big effort for us with us getting 5 or 6 different winemakers on the Zoom with us. And we're tasting some greats from Santa Barbara. Take a look at that wine list. The week after, some of the top wines of Spain. And then, thinking that June 18th might be a little warmer, we're going to explore some really beautiful, bright, fresh white wines from Italy because I'm collecting quite a few obscure but really sensational wines. I've got a new Italian importer, and 20 years ago she worked for me. I got her first job in wine, and now she's just absolutely on fire as one of the top small producer importers coming out of Europe, mostly out of Italy, but also a little bit out of Corsica and a little bit out of the Greek islands. So super cool stuff. We'll talk with her about a couple of these wines too. You'll really enjoy her. And then collectible Cabernet will be back on June 25th. I saw a chat in there that I did capture. Let me see if it's there. There it is, chat. Brian, you like the 6 is dark and dense and potent. Any questions, comments, or things that we can excite you about here? Julie, thank you. Thank you for the compliments.
Thank you.
Natalie, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous, Ian. Thank you.
Is it
Great wines. Learned a lot. Thank you very much. I actually had a friend that went to Armenia last summer, and she learned a lot about the wines too. But yeah, just something different. Just something different. It was
Stephanie?
great.
Natalie's in Nebraska.
Hmm.
We sent the wines to her.
Yeah, so actually, Ian, I have a question for you because I'm going to be traveling in June. So I want to do some of the tastings. If I do enough of the bottle kits to make a case, I almost feel like shipping wise, I'm gonna be better off anyway.
Yeah, I
than
mean, if you can ground ship a case, it's probably the same price as overnighting or 2-day airing. I'm not sure where you're going, but if we'll have all of our June Zooms, if they're not already, we'll have all of those priced and out there probably by Friday.
okay.
So if they're not already, they might already be done. But you know, we have quite a bit of work to do on the July calendar, but we know the topicality. But it's up there now, and we're working into August. And yeah, so we just finished probably the busiest 2 weeks I've had since pre-pandemic. The role that we just came off of was pretty insane. And I got to pour wine next to Alvina. I have to bring you back on the screen, Alvina, because we're gonna once again uh, say if somebody knows someone who needs someone intelligent to do something spectacular. Alvina just graduated from a top university in Oregon and very bright, very capable. I poured wine next to her, and she was not only charming but also super fantastic at her job and very hardworking. And so those are always things that I like to find. So it was wonderful to meet you. And when I found out she was Armenian, I said, "Oh, we're doing a Zoom on Wednesday." And she's, "Oh, I'd love to learn about Armenian wines." And here she is. So she's got a lot of gumption, and I would highly recommend chatting with Alvina. Stefan, maybe you know someone she could talk to, and you guys can exchange emails or something because
Sounds
she's
good. I appreciate it. Good to meet you, Alvina.
Thank
good
you
at
so
output.
much. I have to say I was very excited to come to LA after Oregon because there's not a big Armenian community up there. And I was like, I'm probably more likely to meet more people of my community from here. And yeah.
You think?
Most likely, yeah. And thank you for your
Yes.
kind words, Ian. I appreciate it. And it was really fun learning from you and pouring some wine and, meeting new people.
Awesome.
The Reds were very impressive and not what I was expecting. So yeah, that went really well. But I also wanted to share with Stefan why I'm here. My last name is German, but it ends in IAN. So for my whole life, all the computer searches have assumed I'm Armenian. So I get Armenian newsletters, invitations to Armenian events. I've watched the telethon several times, and I know all the history and the current geopolitical situation. So I'm kind of a adopted Armenian. So I couldn't resist coming to this and actually trying some
Well,
Armenian.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Even your first name ends with
Yeah.
IAN.
Yeah. So I'm double. Yeah.
Double Armenian.
Yeah, in college, my father had an Armenian professor. One of his professors was Armenian, and he insisted he marry his daughter. So that, yeah. So our whole family has always been, thought to be Armenian. So yeah.
Thanks, Janice. I'm glad you enjoyed the wines. Good to see you again. And Amy, thank you so much for your continued support, and Kathy and Gary and Setsuko, David.
Thanks. It was fantastic. Great to see you as well, Ian.
Paul, I'm glad you were able to get on. Hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Yeah.
If you go to YouTube, you can find this video at Learn About Wine's channel. It's actually been taped live. Hopefully my editors will clean it up a little bit for us going forward, tighten it up a little bit. But we will be continuing the output here, Zooming every week, tasting with different varieties and different producers. Check out the calendar and join us. We keep these things fun and fast, and we appreciate all your time. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Let's
Thank you all, and thank you, Ian.
pray my
Thank
Dodgers have
you.
a better night
Thanks,
tonight.
Ian.
Thank you, guys. Go Dodgers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Probably thinks
Bye-bye.
I'm mistaken.